Well, we are absolutely delighted to have a longtime friend of Endtime Ministries, Dr. Katherine Albrecht, with us on the program today. It's been a while since she's been on with us. She has gone through a time of pretty serious illness, and God has brought her through. We're very thankful for that. So, Katherine, welcome once again to Politics and Religion.
Hey, Brother Baxter. It is such a delight to be with you. I want to put out a really warm shout of thanks to all of your listeners. I know a lot of people were praying for me this last year as I was battling breast cancer, and all of those prayers went directly to the throne, and the Lord has been just so wonderful in my life and carried me through one of the most difficult year I've ever been through. I am coming down the home stretch of cancer treatment for breast cancer, and I will be done with that the end of May. My husband and I are already planning a second honeymoon. We're going to go and celebrate. We're going to head out to the island and rest in the sun a little bit and soak up some rays and just say thank you that I'm actually coming out the other end of it. It was a tough year.
Well, I'm sure it has been, Katherine, and I'm sure your value system has shifted some during this experience. So would you care to comment about that?
You know, it's really an extraordinary thing when you are a hard driving person just going ahead, and you know, I've always kind of been that way. I'm a little bit of a workaholic, I suppose. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, boom, you get this realization that you may not be here that much longer. And when we actually found the cancer, it was a very large tumor, actually a couple of inches across, which is frightening when you're talking about cancer. And it had spread pretty extensively up into my lymphatic system, but it hadn't gone any further. They actually call that stage 3C. And when it metastasizes and becomes stage 4, then you're really in the fight of your life. So we caught it just barely at just barely in time to save my life, and hopefully I'll have many decades more of life in front of me. But that realization and the couple of weeks before we really knew where I stood was an extraordinarily I won't say a frightening time. I definitely felt the presence of the Lord through all of that. But you have to ask yourself, okay, Lord, I thought you had different plans for me. I thought we were gonna, I thought I was gonna be writing a book. I have a children's book on the Mark of the Beast that is about 3/4 done that had to go on hold this last year. I have just so many projects and so many things I want to do and so much I want to accomplish and so many things that I want to go out there and speak about the Lord. And I said, why is it that I would be stopped in my tracks here? And what's been really as extraordinary through this year is, and I used to hear people say this, and I always thought it was a platitude. I always thought they were just kind of making it up or trying to make the best of things when they would say, I have gained so much in this year, or my faith has grown so strong through this adversity. And I would always think, how is that possible? And now that I'm actually living it, I can say it is not only possible, but it's amazing how going through the deepest, darkest times, and there were times on some of the medication that I went through. My doctor is at Dana-Farber, one of the top cancer centers in the country, and she's been working there for, I don't know, well over a decade. And she told me just recently that I have had the most grueling course of treatment of anyone that she has ever worked with, that she threw everything at me, every possible chemo drug. I had radiation. I am on an experimental drug. You name it, they're doing every possible thing that they can do. And she said, because you're young, because you've got your life ahead of you, you're healthy, other than the cancer, if you can imagine that. But she said, you're healthy, you're strong, you're handling it well. And we really want you to, take everything we can give you. And there were some moments, I lost all my hair, I lost my eyelashes, I lost my eyebrows. I went through the whole chemo thing. And some of these drugs even impacted my ability to think, my ability to work, my ability to walk, my ability to even just get through the day. And at those darkest moments, when I think for the first time really in my life, Irvin, that I've ever had to say, Lord, I give up. I am broken beyond broken. I am destitute. And please take these pieces and break them further if you have to, but please put them back together again the way you want them put together. And he answered that prayer for me. It was in December. It was actually towards the end of December. I'd been battling this disease since January 18th of 2011. So I was about 11 months into this journey. And it was just before Christmas, probably about the week before Christmas, that I actually found myself in a parking lot, and I was picking up cupcakes for somebody's birthday party. And in the parking lot, I just said, I can't go on. I just can't do it. And I sobbed and I cried. And it was one of those, just where you think it can't get any worse. And it was at that moment, I really do believe that the Lord said, okay, this is what I was waiting for, was the moment that you would say, I can't do it. Please, come in and do it for me. And, I thought I'd prayed that many times, but I don't think I'd ever gotten quite that low. And since that time, I have felt strength coming back into my body. I've felt strength coming back into my spirit. I look fantastic. I have 4 inches of hair now, even though I'm still in chemotherapy. I'm on a drug that's not taking that away. And feeling strong. And he's opened doors and provided opportunities for me that had never been there before. My family relationships are stronger. My relationship with my husband went through a very rocky period through all of this, as you can imagine. It's a very tough thing to have a spouse undergoing such dramatic chemotherapy and treatment. And my husband, he himself this last year was actually baptized. So, I look at that and I see how the Lord has used that adversity to impact people around me in ways that are extraordinary. And we are more solidly together and more solidly in service to the Lord than we've ever been in our entire lives. And I do want to put out a recommendation for people out there if they're in a degree of marital strife, and certainly illness will do it, unemployment will do it, losing a home will do it, the economy today, there's so many things that are putting people into a place of strife. But we sought out biblical counseling, and we had 2 books recommended to us. And I don't know if you've ever talked about these, Brother Baxter, on your show before, but The Excellent Wife and The Exemplary Husband. I know that The Excellent Wife is by Martha Peace, P-E-A-C-E. When I first read these books, and I know in the introduction you said I have a doctorate from Harvard, I've always been an independent businesswoman. I started my own business when I was 15. I've always done my own thing. And this book was all about submission within your marriage. And for somebody who's got a doctorate from Harvard, who's an academic, who's written a best-selling book, who's done all the things that I've done, to be actually specifically told, Katherine, you must submit to your husband. But at the same time, he was telling my husband, you must submit to Christ. And when we finally got all of that in line, when my husband finally said, you know what, I can't go on any further. I mean, he hit his breaking point in the summer. He said, I can't. I'm running everything and running the household and running myself into the ground. He looks so tired. And taking me to the chemotherapy and trying to manage everything by himself. And he also hit a point where he said, I may lose my wife. The cancer that she has is extraordinarily serious. My chances, I think, of making it 10 years from here are like 40%. So even now, they're not fantastic. And that got him to a point where he said, just like I did, I can't do it, Lord. I can't do it. And that was when the Lord said, all right, well, I'm standing right here. The minute you want to submit and bend the knee, let's get moving. And I'll tell you, there is more peace and more harmony and more love and more actual health in my life than there has ever been since I was a small child. I can't remember a time when I had more of the blessings of the Lord in my life than I do right now.
Well, Katherine, when all of us come to a point where we say, I can't do it anymore, and that puts us in the situation where we can learn that God can do it. And I think that's a place that all of us have to go to. And I think we can either go there voluntarily or sometimes the trials of life take us there. But anyway, we're so happy that you're doing better, and we're certainly thankful unto God for that. And I'm sure that eternity is a lot more real to you now, perhaps.
Indeed.
Than it was before.
Yes, it is.
When you stare it in the face. And all of us, it needs to be real to us anyway, because we drive down highways, we come within 6 feet of sudden death, and sometimes we don't think about it as seriously as we should. But none of us have a promise of tomorrow, so it's critical that we're all ready at all times. So we're certainly glad that God has allowed you to stay with us a while. We need you right now, and we need you to still be that powerful force that you have been, but maybe redirect it a little bit. Perhaps God will redirect you. We're going to talk about some things today that we feel like are critical. We know, I know that we are in the fight of our life in our nation. Just like you've faced the fight of your life in your physical life, this United States of America, There are forces, there are cancers that are eating away at the core of this nation. And, sometimes we say it's this person or that person, but sometimes it's even deeper than a person. The Bible says we don't war against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. And so sometimes it's not the person so much, but there are spirits that have to be conquered. And when the spirits are conquered, the person suddenly dramatically changes. So that's what we want to talk about some today. In your past, you became famous. You became the dreaded person. I'll never forget walking through a trade show one day. There was a big show here in Dallas concerning RFID chips. And I went to this program, and I went down into the display area, and I just happened to mention your name. And it was like I had just said Adolf Hitler. Because,
as far as they're concerned, absolutely.
Yeah, because you had been such a thorn in the side of all those people that wanted to tag everything and track everything everywhere. And so I'll never forget. I didn't tell them I knew you personally at the time, but it was hilarious. I had so much fun with it. But anyway, you made quite an impact on the industry, and yet the probing into our privacy has not stopped.
Yeah, I think it's gone around a lot of our opposition. It is the case. I mean, one of the reasons that industry really despises me so much is back in 2002, 2003, they had hundreds of millions of dollars riding on this new technology. And the plan was to replace the barcode with these tiny remotely readable tracking chips, to put them into, not only that, but to put them into driver's licenses, to put them into passports, to put them into all sorts of things. And we being 20,000 people who are members of the consumer privacy organization Caspian that I founded back in 1999, and just with a lot of willpower and a lot of protests and a lot of effort and a lot of working with legislators and just really being extraordinarily active all over the globe, not just in the U.S. I spoke before the European Commission. I was invited to speak before the Royal Society of London. I spoke to groups of Japanese engineers from some of the big Japanese electronic firms. I mean, so it really became a global battle against those plans, and those plans really did get pushed back. And I have actually spoken to some people within the RFID industry after the fact, and they had $10-20 million programs that they had to cancel and lay people off because of the opposition. So the good news, you can fight back.
Yeah, you sure can. And in our next segment, we're going to go a little bit deeper to make sure everyone understands what we're talking about exactly. Our guest today, Dr. Katherine Albrecht, will be back in just a moment.